Good afternoon, folks. It's a privilege to be back up here in the tower with the guys and to watch this, what I think is going to be a really exciting race. There's been a lot of rivalry in the pits. The guys have been putting their cars together. A lot of preparation has gone into this, and I know what goes into a race like this, and it's months of preparation. And this will be 30 minutes of, I think it's going to be really action-packed. There's these different classes of cars. There's a reliability to depend on, and I think today, being only a 30-minute race, the guys are going to go flat out. I think prepare yourselves for an incredible race.
Well, having had a chance to go into the workshop last night and meet up with a good couple of the guys from Sports and GT and get a bit of background information as to the nature of preparation of these cars. It's, well, the race day is actually not that expensive. It's the time leading up towards the race day where you take out literally every single nut and bolt and remove all the pieces. That takes lots and lots of stress from the last 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hour races that you've been using the car for, and put all fresh bits and pieces in there. So if you look at the type of vehicles that's out there, the Nissan Pulbeam MP84, the Half Motorsport entry of Steve Humble and Josh Broom, probably going to be, to my mind, the front runners. The Rico Baller Racing entry in the Radical SR8. Wow, what an amazing looking and sounding motor car. But Peter, having said that, Gary Kieswetter, there's a good couple of people that are saying he might be eventually, in the long run, the man to keep pace with.
I would definitely keep an eye on him. His car is incredibly quick. It's the latest, greatest GT3 Cup car. Very well prepared. He's got new tires on for this event. All the races he's done previous to that he's done on, but he's only done really one race previously on with this car, and they were on old tires, and he was running in the low 15s. And so I think for this race, you'll get into the sub 15s, and from a reliability point of view, those Porsches are just incredible. And he's basically only got the Radical and the Pulbeam ahead of him that he really needs to worry about. And I see they're coming past here now to start the race. I'll give it over to you, Gary.
Well, it's going to be pretty interesting stuff. Front row of the grid, Steve Humble and Josh Broom, the Nissan Pulbeam MP84 and the Radical SR8, 2 GT3 Cup Porsches in there. Behind that, the likes of Gary Kieswetter and Martin Prince, Gavin Gorman. Nice to see Gavin Gorman back out there on the track again. We haven't seen Gavin Gorman for a period of time, and it was fantastic to have a chat with him last night at the Rico Barlow workshop. And he said, yeah, first time in a long time that he's been out on the track. Speed is something that you get accustomed to. And yeah, he says he had an amazing experience getting out there on the track again. Guys pushing it pretty hard at this stage of the fight in the mid-pack. It looks like everybody's got a plan and a strategy and a theory. Given the number of laps, the amount of time that's available, Peter, is it very strategical as to how hard you push on the rubber that you got, or for that period of time, for this type of motor vehicle, is it flat box, all systems go?
No, I think it being only a 30-minute race, which is actually pushing your tires, you better have a good set of tires, but I think these guys are going to push it flat out from the get-go. And then, of course, they're going to have to watch their tires when they get really warm. You could start getting some slipping and sliding going on, and it'll again make for some action-packed racing. And I see, yeah, here come the two front runners, and as forecast, I think Gary Kieswetter is going to be pushing them.
In general, if you take the front 5 cars in this grouping, how easily can you overwork the tires, and what you've gained in that initial period of time lose more than that because you've overdone the tires? Can that happen in this short period of time?
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on the initial condition of the tires, you would definitely have to manage them. You'll feel them as they go along. To be quite frank, I think the guys that are going to just sub their maximum pace are going to be the guys to look out for, and that way you can try and maintain a constant lap time, and of course reliability is the big thing. and that's what we're going to have to watch out for shortly. After about 10-15 laps, you'll start seeing the lap times. You can watch the lap times, and but I see Gary Kisveder is definitely starting to work out a plan here, hoping that these two front runners give each other such a go.
We'll give our guys an opportunity to get them sorted out in terms of the leaderboard. Steve Humble coming through there on a 1 minute 12.604. That's very, very quick. But having said that, Josh Broom, who was seriously looking forward to this one, puts in a 1 minute 12.4. So that's even quicker with Josh Broom coming through there and putting in some amazing times. We've got one car already coming into the pits.
That's Andre Brink coming in now. That's really a pity because he's one of the quicker Porsches out there. It's a 997 GT3 Cup car. I'm not quite sure what's going to go on there. We'll soon find out what's happening in the pits.
Yeah, Andre Brink, one of the Class B entries. Gary Kisveder also being a Class B. In fact, the Class B is a good couple. Gary Kisveder, Martin Prince and Nian de Toy. Race Mace in the Lotus 7. And then also Martin Pugh, all of them being Class B runners. So we lost one Class B, Andre Brink, the Porsche 997 GT3, and he is going to be, well, the door's open. Let's see what happens, and there's no major rush there time-wise, so definitely a problem. Steve Humble says time to up the ante slightly, 1 minute 11.808. And I tell you what, they did say that Nissan Pullbeam MP84 Harp Motorsport entry, the man that's very involved with rallycross locally here at Westmorland's Motor Club, is pushing it pretty hard. Josh Broom right in there as well. He's doing a 1 minute 11.8, so nothing much between them, pretty much about 1/10 of a second. I think that is a case of deja vu. You push your pace, I'll stick there with you. Not too close so you don't have engine overheating and or running out of downforce that you chew up the tires, but just close enough to stay there on song. The two of them have already taken 10 seconds out of Gary Kisveder, and as you said, reliability for that lead Class B car might become a very important factor in the outcome after half an hour.
You know, between Josh Broom and Steve Humble, it's going to be a case of who makes the first mistake. And here's some back markers now, which seem to be bringing well. And it could be, it's just going to be a question of who makes the first mistake. Steve Humble is very consistent. He's down to 11.2. Josh Broom, he's sitting on his backside right now, and anything can happen.
Third place, Gary Kisveder has gone through the leading Class B car, the Porsche GT3 Cup car. Next one coming through will be Martin Prince, fourth on track, second in Class B. Gavin Gorman, he's got himself entangled in a bit of a battle there with Martin Pugh. In fact, Martin Pugh has got past Gavin Gorman. Nian de Toy in close attendance there with that rotary power underneath the bonnet of Nian de Toy on the Lotus 7. And he was also seriously looking forward to this one. He says, a half an hour, just about right for my motor car. He says, and in fact, it's the right size fuel tank as well. Peter, I take it, these cars are fuel good to go for this full period of time. There won't be an issue with fuel at all.
No, apparently not. Everybody's got enough fuel to make it to the end. And I just see, here comes Steve, and I tell you what, Josh would dearly like to get past him. I was talking to Josh before the race, and he said that his goal would be to try and get past Steve, so that because he was doing he was a bit quicker yesterday in the practice, and he believed that if he could just get ahead of Steve. Now, we all know Steve is a very difficult guy to overtake, and his car is going exceptionally well, and they're both doing incredible times.
Yeah, very, very quick, undoubtedly. And let's have a look at the Class C battle. Ryan Buddha in another Porsche GT3 Cup car. Peter, roughly, what is the cost to get a vehicle like that, to purchase a vehicle like that? And secondly, roughly, what does it cost to prepare a vehicle like that for a race like this?
Are we talking about the GT3 Cup cars?
Yeah.
Well, there's quite a spread of them here. There's the 996 Cup car, and then there's the 997 Cup car, and then of course the 991 Cup car, and then you get the 991 Gen 1 and Gen 2. A 996 Cup car like Ryan Buddha's racing at the moment. Very good, solid engine. And Steve Humble's just done a 110.8. That's amazing. Okay, getting back to the Cup car. To purchase a Cup car nowadays in the second-hand market, typically here in South Africa, especially Cape Town, the all pre-owned cars, you could get them for around about the R1 million mark. I know that Ryan Buddha's car is available for sale actually, and it's a little bit less than that. And to prepare a car like that is pretty much the same as preparing the 997 Cup car. I guess that the overall running costs over a period of a year is a little bit more expensive as you go up in the model range. And but the 997 Cup cars are coming in at around about 1.8 million rand. The 991 Cup cars are around the 2.5 million rand mark. And to run these cars, I would easily put aside anything from half a million to R1 million a year to run it properly, to run it professionally, and that normally equates to roughly 50 to 70,000 rand a race. It's cost these guys, and it also depends on how many new tires they put on. If they put new tires on every race, it's that's 25 grand right there.
So quite easily spending more than R1,000 a lap right now, having fun out there, most of these guys. Steve Humble deciding that he wants to try and get a gap between himself and Josh Broom, and putting in a 1 minute 10.639. Steve Humble in the Nissan Pillbeam, the Radical SR8 prepared by the Rico Barlow workshop, is still right there and thereabouts, less than half a second between the two of them. Gary Kieswetter, the leading Class B car, the Porsche GT3 Cup Advanced Packaging sponsored car, is on his way down to the bottom end of the front straight. At this stage of the fight, he's leading out Class B 27 seconds back. And then Martin Prince, second in Class B, fourth out there on the circuit, and he finds himself about a half minute further back with the second of the Porsche GT3 Cup cars. Third in Class B is Martin Pugh from Gavin Gorman. Then Ryan Buddha, the man we just spoke about now, with also the Porsche. He finds himself he started off at the front of Class C. He's still leading Class C, although he's already been lapped by the frequent flyers up front. 1 minute 10.6 from Steve Humble. And very much the same. I think probably within about 0.2 of a second is the fastest lap time of Josh Broom. So the Class C battle, Ryan Buddha, the Lola of Louis de Jager. Wow, Louis de Jager, the Lola T212. That car driver combination's been around for a long, long time. He finds himself second in Class C from Eric Salomon in the Toyota Alpha SO6. Then it is the Lotus replica of Henny Trollope that's leading out Class D, ahead of the oldest driver out there, Cyril Ginsberg, a man that also does sports and GTI racing, and he loves the Porsche, the RS, the Ginsberg and Selby sponsored car of Cyril Ginsberg, and he loves to be out there. He's a Porsche man through and through, loves the way that is working. Unfortunately, we've lost out already on a Neon Toy. He's dropped right down to the back of the pack. I don't actually see Neon out on track at the moment, so something might have gone wrong for him. Let's see if we can pick him up anywhere on the circuit. Nope, I don't see him. So probably Neon Toy has gone and parked the Lotus 7. He has 4 laps down, so yeah, definitely not working. Andre Brink, he was the first man that bailed out into the pits. There was no rush time-wise. He got out of the car, and that's as far as that one went. So bringing up the tail of the field then is James Beaumont, as Gary Kieswetter in the third position. He's still on the same lap as the leaders. The last man still on the lead lap as he comes through below us. 1 minute 14.970 on his way up towards turn number 2, and looking very, very strong out there is Kieswetter. So Josh Broom keeping an equidistant gap. Billy, do you think he is pacing himself, or do you think he's not possible for him at this stage to get past Steve Humble?
Well, I think because yesterday Josh Broom was doing a little bit quicker than Steve Humble. So his strategy was to try and get ahead of Steve in the first couple of laps. so that he could stay ahead of him. But now it's Steve's dropped his time, and he's running incredible times. I mean, at 10.6 is really an incredible time, and I think Josh Broom is coming up to some back markers at the moment. Slight hold up there. Oh, there, yeah, that's not good. He's just been held up by the Doc Prince, and but now he's off again, and that's actually going to put him back a little bit. He's got some climbing to do, but I think he's probably decided that he can't get past him now, and then just try and hold on to him. I think would be a really good thing if he could just hold on to him, and if he makes a mistake, he's on him.
I think Steve Humble actually saw they were coming up to the back markers, decided this is maybe the opportunity, if it happens at the right point, going through like turn 2, and that's exactly what happened with Josh Broom being on the outside, going through the apex of the corner. Well, the next lap's going to be very much a decider to try and predict what's going to happen going forward. So Steve Humble goes across the line, a 1 minute 10.993. Josh having lost out big time on 1 minute 12.035. Keeping in mind that now he's got open track in front of him. There is nothing that they're going to lap, barring somebody having any form of mechanical difficulty. Now we will see what Josh Broom can do all by himself with nobody else around him at all. It looks like he's pushing pretty hard. He ran a little bit deep on the apex of turn number 2. Josh Broom pushing very hard. Can Josh Broom close up on Steve Humble? It's going to be pretty interesting stuff. Gary Kieswetter in third position. He has got that GT3 running very decently. Leading Class B from Martin Prince, from Martin Pugh. And then the Class C leader, Ryan Buddha, has now got himself ahead of Gavin Gorman in the VW Nardini Sport. So the interesting one up front with those 2 frequent flyers. It's going to be very interesting to see next time they come around, to see what kind of lap times they're putting up. So Steve has done the breakaway. Here he comes through now. Let's see. His last lap was a 1 minute 10.993 at 10.8. He's on the button. And Josh Broom at 12.5. Steve has broken the toe.
I think because Josh did quite a bit of a slide there coming out of turn 2. And so I hope his tires are good. And that did put him back, I would say. You know, a slide like that can put you back easily a half a second. And so he's got a lot to make up here now, and it's just a question of consistency is going to pay off at the end of the day. And I've still got a lot of hope in Gary Kieswetter. He's definitely up there. He's running amazing times, you know. He said that he'd been running in the low 15s, and he was hoping to break the 15s today with the new tires, and I think his fastest was a 14.4, which I think under the circumstances is incredible time for that car.
Temperature-wise, not a bad setup. A little bit of high humidity. Is that good or bad for these cars?
Well, it's a good question. Actually, because we got high humidity, and it's still reasonably warm. So yes, it's actually not a good thing. It does deplete your performance slightly, having a very high humidity. You want to try and get as high oxygen content as possible. So cold temperature is better than high humidity.
And then obviously it keeps the brakes a lot cooler as well with a lower temperature. But then again, these cars are designed for the brake pads to work at a very high temperature. On a typical circuit like Killarney International, is there enough high-speed braking spots to keep that brake temperature going, or do you tend to be marginal to get enough temperature into the brakes with the longer straights in terms of local racing?
Actually, this track is very hard on brakes, and one tends to get a bit of overheating on brakes, and then the long straights are just long enough to cool them down again, and then you really pump up the temperature again at the end of these 2 straights. So this track is reasonably hard on brakes, and brake management is definitely key here.
Steve Humble coming through to do yet another lap, a 12.870 on the last one, 11.03. So he's within 0.4 of a second. Josh Broom definitely not on the same pace. Josh Broom is very, very strong in that second position, with Gary Kieswetter that is literally a lap down already. but we've got 17 laps to go, so it's still a long way before we get to the end of this one, that's for sure. Let's have a look at the classes. The only Class S car out there is in fact Steve Humble in the Nissan Fullbeam, which is a Harp Motorsport, which is in fact Steve's own company. Then Josh Broom leading out Class A. He is the only Class A entrant out there with the Radical SR8 Rico Barlow Racing and Spitfire sponsored on that motor car. Gary Kisveta leading out Class B, and one lap down with 17 laps to go in the Huisie 100. And second in Class B, Martin Prince with the second of the GT3 Cup cars from Martin Pugh. Ryan Buddha putting one Class B car between himself and the rest of the Class C cars. So that GT3 Cup of Ryan Buddha leading out there from a brilliant drive by Louis de Jager. Wow, that Lola T12, that's quite an aged vehicle, and well, it's proven to be very reliable. And I mean, he's not one of the youngest guys out there either. So Louis de Jager, I think, is going to be puffing kind of hard by the time he gets out of that motor car.
You know, Louis de Jager is probably one of the most consistent drivers out there, and he probably runs that car on the lowest budget out of all of us, and he takes care of the car himself, and he's always out there. He's at every race, he's always in the mix, he's always in the top 3 of Class C, and you know, I've raced against him for many years, and it was always a privilege to race with him. And he's just really, today he's a Mr. Consistent. I mean, I've just seen a 19.6 there from Louis de Jager, which is, I think it's a very good time for that car. And Ryan Buddha is going to have to keep the wits about him. And because Ryan Buddha is also Mr. Consistent, running very consistent times. And but yeah, there's always a nice healthy competition with the top the top 3 C classes, and it's starting to look like we're heading that way now.
Well, another interesting thing happening out there is a Class D battle. Henny Trollope in the Lotus Electrica 7 leading out from the RS GT3 Porsche of Cyril Ginsberg, and 14 seconds between the two of them. So Uncle Cyril not being lost in the storm there whatsoever, and they are both ahead of James Beaumont. And he's in the Ford GT40. A GT40 out in the circuit by itself looks like a pocket rocket, but amongst the kind of competition that's out here, it's looking very average. So it just gives you an idea of exactly how quick these cars are. Pretty much a half length of the back straight now between Steve Humble and Josh Broom. Steve Humble at 10.509. Getting quicker and quicker. You know, the problem with this, Peter, is Steve's got it. I mean, he's the fastest man out there, but the racer in him is not allowing him to back off. It's a case of he wants to go quicker and quicker and quicker. And 11.584. Do you think that his experience is going to help him to lift his foot a little bit, or is it a case of you got the telemetry in front of you and you're racing the track now, and that will to press the edges just comes through? You just keep on going harder and harder.
Steve Humble is a man not to take his foot off the gas. You know, if you've got somebody breathing down your neck like Josh Broom, he only has to make one small mistake and Josh Broom will be on him. So Steve will probably be wanting to get a bigger gap as possible. As I said, Steve always goes flat out, and if he will try and keep the space as long as he can. And the key there is to try and get a little bit ahead of Josh Broom, who's now, as I said, is just a half a back straight ahead of him at the moment.
Well, Gary Kisveta in third place is about to be lapped for the second time by Steve Humble as they work their way out into the front main from Cape Town corner. Up towards us, they come lights ablaze. He's passed lots and lots of traffic already. Probably a bit I was just about to say he'll probably be a bit slower on that lap because the number of cars that he passed. On the button, 11.7, still just a tad quicker than Josh Broom. The Class S and the Class A car, first and second overall. The nearest man to that, the leader of Class B, the Sports and GT Class B entrant, the GT3 Cup Advanced Packaging, 1 minute 15 And he's, in fact, Peter stayed in the 115s right around. He hasn't got to a 14. He hasn't dropped to a 16. He must be very, very consistent to stay within a half a second after, what, we've done 17 laps already. That shows consistency.
Yeah, Gary Kieswetter is very consistent, and look, in this race, performance of index is a big thing. It's probably a good honor to have, and if anybody's going to win it, it could be Gary Kieswetter at this stage. And but I tell you what, I see that Louis de Jager has done a 19.2, which is really, really good, and Martin Prince has also just done his quickest as a 17.6, and Martin Pugh has done a 17.2. So I think there's going to be a really nice dice between Martin Prince and Martin Pugh. The two Martins are giving each other a proper go.
Yeah, really one less than a second between the two of them. But Peter, joining you for the second half of this race with 12 to go. Steve Humble leading out from Josh Broom, Class S from Class A. Gary Kieswetter leading Class B. Ryan Buddha leading Class C. Henny Trollope leading Class D. Frank Yearners joining Peter van der Spey for the last half of the race.
Yeah, Gary, thank you. Yeah, Steve Humble still the quickest man out there, 1:10.5. 09, and he's now getting away from Josh. He's 9.25 seconds behind Josh Broom, and sitting comfortably in third place, one lap down in the Porsche and leading Class B is Gary Kieswetter, and he's done a last lap of 1:15.8. So Humble almost 5 seconds quicker than what Kieswetter is at this stage.
You know, I think the tyres are starting to drop off now. There's a few, I mean, Gary Kieswetter he's dropped 0.3 of a second on his last lap, and let's just see what he does now. And he's just done 0.6 of a second quicker now. Done a 15.2 now, so he's, I don't think there's any tyres coming off at the moment. And I think Josh Broom has taken a decision that he's just going to hang around. And he's got a very reasonable lead on Gary Kieswetter, but he did it at 13.3 now, which is showing that he's slowing down quite a bit. I'm not sure if it's tyres. We're just trying to see it from here.
Well, I've been standing quietly at the back while you and Gary were on the mic for most of it, and these two cars that's working their way out of turn 2. Ryan Buddha in the Porsche and the Nardini of Gavin Gorman. That's a Class C Porsche and a Class B Nardini. They have been on each other's heels literally from the get-go, have the two of them, and the one hasn't pulled away from the other, and they're keeping each other pretty honest as they work their way through turn 4.
Well, he got one of them on Martin Prince's backside here now, and that's let's see who comes out at the end of turn 5. Out braking is key here.
Yeah, it's all about out braking as the two of them work their way down into turn 5. They are sitting in 6th and 7th position. Ryan Buddha with the Class C Sports and GT Porsche, and Gavin Gorman with a Class B VW Nardini, and they have been keeping each other honest as they work their way back down into turn number 1. So that is something we should keep an eye on as this race unfolds with 10 laps to go. But meantime, the leader, Steve Humble, doing a 1:10.509, is working the Nissan-powered Pullman down the back straight towards turn 5, towards Cape Town corner, and he has now got away under second place man Josh Broom, that is now 12.4 seconds behind him.
You know, there's a bit of a dice starting up there now with Gary Kieswetter, who's just coming up behind Martin Prince there. It looked like Gary just overtook Josh Broom, and I hope if that is the case, it means Josh is coming off the pace substantially. But yeah, they come down past the front straight, and I think Josh is going to have another go at him. And
yeah, well, I was keeping an eye. He unlapped himself. Kieswetter is one lap down. Everybody from third place down is at least one lap down on the two leaders. He was 2 laps down. He actually unlapped himself and he's gone 1 lap down, but then again Broom has got his nose ahead of him again. So when they cross the line, if it stays the way it is, he will be 2 laps behind him. So only Humble and Broom that's on the lead lap. Everybody else is at least, 2 laps down. A few of them are even more. 9 laps to go. Peter, we're heading towards the end of this one.
You know, it's getting tight now, and I'm looking at the times now. The guys are actually still staying very consistent in their times, and there's a few. Eric Solomon has just done a 23.6, his quickest lap so far, and but yes, definitely a very, very interesting development in the front, and Ryan Buddha is still staying on it. He's very consistent as well, within a half a second on each lap. And so the Class C cars, I think, is pretty much wrapped up, but there's Louis de Jager is about 9 seconds behind Ryan Buddha.
Well, Josh Broom is pulling into the pit lane. Josh Broom is in the pit lane. So has he got a problem? Well, he's now literally gone a lap down on Steve Humble. So Josh Broom was very optimistic last night at the function. He said he wanted to do 110 or 111, 112s. He's done a 112, and Josh pulls the radical into pit lane. Well, some kind of a problem, I think, there. I think that could be the end of that for Josh Broom, sadly.
Yeah, it looks like his race is over. That puts Gary Kieswetter into second place overall. And it's exactly what I was thinking in the beginning of the race. Gary Kieswetter just has to stay up front, very reliable, very fast, running in the 14s and early 15s, and now it's just a question of whether the pull beam will be able to maintain pace. It'd be interesting to know if he knows that Josh is off and whether he'll slow down at all. He didn't quite slow down in the last lap. He did another 11.5, so he's still got foot on the gas, and but I would imagine if he knows he's off, he'll tap off a bit.
Well, I think it's round about now that his pit boards, his pit crew should show him, listen here, that the 36 car of Josh Broom is out, and that he's the only guy on the lead lap. Gary Kieswetter is nothing short of 1 lap behind him at this point in time, which will probably stay at least 1 lap down, because I don't think Gary's going to overtake him and make up that lap. So they should theoretically show him to slow right down now. He did a 111.5 was Steve's last lap, and if they show him the pit boards, which I believe they should, he really has no need to wind that thing up, because when he crosses the line, he'll only have 6 laps to go. Well, he's done a 110.7. It doesn't matter what they show him. I think he's just going to keep on winding that thing up. His best lap is a 110.5, and his last lap was a 110.7.
No, Steve Humble definitely has something to prove. He wants to prove that car. He's had a few issues with it in the past, and he's getting the reliability up to spec. And looking at that car now, it's super reliable. It's super fast. He's definitely not taking his foot off the gas, that's for sure. His tyres are holding out very well. He's still running this consistent times. I mean, to run a 10.7 at this stage of the race, which is just slightly off his quickest of a 10.5, I think he's got it in the bag. That car just has to hold now.
No, he's got it behind. I'm having a look there at Gary Kieswetter in second position. Right behind him, in third place, as they work their way through turn 3, is Martin Prince. So Martin sits third position behind Gary Kieswetter, but he's actually 2 laps behind Gary Kieswetter. Martin Prince is there in fourth position. He's 25.4 seconds behind Martin Pugh, as Martin Pugh now goes 3 laps down, but he's still in third position. On track, he's directly behind Kieswetter, but he's 3 laps behind Gary.
You know, it just shows the difference between these Porsches. You know, the 996 Porsches running at 120s in the early 120s, and it's a pity that that the 997 had to fall off from Andre Brink in the beginning of the race. But Gary Kieswetter's 991 Cup car, which is pretty new to Sports and GT, it's joined the stable at the end of last year, and it's proving to be a very, very competitive car, and I think it's substantially quicker. And not only that, you've got an outstanding multiple championship winner Gary Kieswetter behind the wheel, who's staying incredibly consistent at 15.2s. And kudos there to Martin Pugh, who's stuck behind him and doing exceptionally well, bearing in mind that he's to rebuild that car after a terrible accident last year, and it's doing very, very well in my opinion.
Well, Steve Humble is slowing it down. He's at a 1:11 now. His previous lap was a 1:13. So he definitely is tapping off ever so slightly as he sails in there behind Martin Prince. He's about to put another lap on Martin that sits there in that 4th position. Martin just moving out the way, saying, listen here, there's nothing that I can do to keep you behind me. Just go through. I've got my top 5 all sewn up there in 4th place. So we're heading towards the end stages, Peter. When the leader crosses the line, there'll be 3 laps to go. So all he basically needs to do now is just keep it on the tarmac and keep the wheels pointing in the right direction. That's all. It's basically in the bag. He must just knot it. That's all.
Yeah, this is where discipline comes in. You know, one is tempted to give it a last squirt. This is where you can make a mistake, and it's now a lot of discipline. Stay focused, stay on it. All you have to do is just maintain your position right now, and it's nice to see that the first, with Gary Kieswetter there with the Porsche 991, and Martin Prince there with the Porsche 991. And then Ryan Buddha there also with the Porsche, and then Martin Pugh's doing very well to be stuck in amongst those Porsches, I think. And yeah, it's just discipline now. Just keep those times consistent. Although Steve Humble's just done another 10.9, and Gary Kieswetter's come off the pace a little bit, but that could be due to back markers. And yeah, all in all, I think the guys just need to hang in there now. There's only a couple of laps left. Other than the back markers, have still got 5 laps to go. Ryan Buddha's still got 5 laps to go, and then Gary's got 3 laps to go, and Steve Humble 2 laps to go.
Well, I'm looking at the man that sits there in 7th position and sits 3rd overall in Class C, Eric Salomon. Eric has been around sports car racing for many, many years. He, of course, is a chartered accountant, and Eric loves to come out and do these endurance races.
Yeah, the accountants always do their calculations well. He's probably done a whole bean counting exercise before the race, and he's doing exactly what it means, what he needs to do to maintain that position. And it's a really good, solid 3rd place. And he's actually Eric Solomon. You know, correct me if I'm wrong here, but. He's 1 lap behind Ryan and Louis de Jager.
Yes, he's 1 lap behind the 2 of them. But look, he's lying 3rd in class, so it's not really going to bother him as long as he's going to get a top 3 in Class C. Josh seems to be the only Class A car out there, so he will be classified as a finisher, and he will win Class A, which he'll be satisfied with, but you want to be on the circuit. You don't want to be in pit lane, even though you win your class.
Oh, well, that's interesting. I mean, if he's still going to get a prize, for not, I mean, a DNF is a DNF, isn't it?
Well, I think it also goes, you can DNF, but there's a certain amount of laps you have to complete, and I think he's well within that, or I believe, I'm just guessing, but I think he's well within that, and being the only Class A entrant, I do believe that he will certainly win Class A. Yeah, but he'll be pretty unhappy about the fact that he's radical packed up.
Yeah, he did 22 laps, which is well over the 60% normal requirement.
Right, so we're on the final lap now as the leader's making his way into turn 3. Into turn 3 he goes. Damstip, the last lap, will stick with the leader as he heads towards turn 4, and that is Car Care Clinic, making his way down the back straight on the final lap. Race leader Steve Humble in the Nissan Pullman from Harp Motorsport, works his way down into turn 5, into Fostron corner, and Peter, bring him towards the checkered flag.
You know, he's done an incredible race, he's maintained an incredible pace, and he's just coming into the straight now, and this is a really comfortable win for him. His only competition, and he's just won the race. That's Steve Humble, well done, good, excellent race. His only competition fell out, unfortunately, in lap 22. I'm sure he's very sad about that. And let's see, car number 2 would be Gary Kieswetter at this stage.
I'm having a look out for Gary. There's a few cars heading down towards turn 5. I'll pick up Gary shortly. Have a look and see. There goes Gary Kieswetter down the back straight. He's heading towards turn 5, towards Fastron corner. And that is the man that's in that second position, Gary Kieswetter. And he'll bring the Porsche GT3 Cup car home second overall and first in Class B.
Does he have to do 30 laps?
No, checkered flag is out. He will finish 1 lap behind the winner, Steve Humble.
Outstanding achievement there to get a second overall in the race like this in a Porsche, which is up to 5 seconds slower than those 2 front runners. And is this Martin Pugh coming in now for
Martin Pugh?
Martin Pugh just come over the line, and he's got he's 29 laps he managed to complete.
Now he finished 1 lap behind Gary Kieswetter and 2 laps behind the winner, Steve Humble, and he finishes second in Class B. Ryan Buddha has taken the checkered flag. He wins Class C and he finishes 4th overall. So that was the Huisie 100, 31 laps for the Western Province Sports and GT. Peter, it's been an honor and a privilege, sir, to have you with us in the commentary box. But next time we need to see you out on track.
I'll be there, hopefully. I'm waiting for my
sure.
car to get done. And this is going to be a really exciting race in future, the Huisie 30 minute. I mean, what an exciting race. You know, 30 laps really tests the car to its absolute maximum, and also gives the drivers, I mean, this is 3 races for them in one.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be an outstanding race in the future, and I really look forward to doing that in the next one.
Peter, once again, thank you, sir. It was an honor and a privilege.